Christmas morning, 1877, the good people of Kremmling, Colorado dragged Iris Dalton through the snow and dumped her at the town line like garbage. Her crime? Existing while unwanted. Then Wade Garrison rode up, the most feared man in 3 territories, and did something no one expected. He chose her. You won't believe what happened after that.
Hello, compliments of the season. If you love heartwarming stories about life in times past, then you'd enjoy these stories. Comment where you're watching from, like and share these videos with loved ones as you enjoy them. Do not forget to subscribe to our channel too. My team and I have something free and beautiful for you once we hit the 1,000 subscriber mark. It will be shared in the community. You know, we go to great lengths to make these stories, and your support means a lot to us. Therefore, we plan to give back to you once we are able to. So be a part of what we are building.
The church bells rang for Christmas service, but Iris Dalton wouldn't be attending. She was too busy being destroyed. They came for her at dawn, respectable women with hard faces, men who called themselves deacons, the sheriff who wouldn't meet her eyes. They dragged her from the boarding house where she'd worked as a seamstress for 6 months, her only possessions bundled in a worn shawl. "Jezebel!" someone spat. "Harlot!" another voice called. Iris didn't fight. What was the point? She knew how this worked. A woman alone, no family, no husband, no protection. She was guilty of whatever they decided she was guilty of. The accusation was as old as it was predictable. Mrs. Henrietta Crawford claimed Iris had made advances toward her husband. A lie, obvious and cruel, but truth didn't matter when a woman with standing made accusations against a woman with none. They marched her down Main Street, past the general store where she'd bought thread, past the restaurant where she'd sometimes treated herself to coffee, past the faces of people who'd smiled at her last week and wouldn't look at her now. The snow was falling heavy, beautiful if you weren't being exiled into it. At the town line, they stopped. The sign read, "Kremmling, population 347. Someone had already painted over the number, making it 346. "You're not welcome here," Mrs. Crawford announced, her voice shrill with righteousness. "Decent people don't harbor your kind." "My kind?" Iris's voice was steady, despite the cold seeping through her thin dress. "What kind is that? Women who work for their living?" "Women who seduce married men," Crawford snapped. "I've never spoken to your husband beyond good morning in the street." "Lies!" Crawford's face twisted. "The sheriff has heard testimony. You're banished. If you return, you'll be arrested for vagrancy and moral corruption." They left her there, in the snow, on Christmas morning, 3 miles from the nearest town, which would likely turn her away just as fast once word spread. Iris gathered her bundle and started walking. She'd walked away from worse. Behind her, the church bells continued their cheerful ringing.
Iris made it half a mile before her feet went numb. The snow was deeper than it looked, and her boots, good enough for town, were useless out here. Each step was a negotiation between forward progress and falling down. She focused on breathing, on moving, on not thinking about what came next. That's when she heard the horse. A single rider, coming from the west at a steady pace. Iris's first instinct was to hide, but there was nowhere to go, just open country and snow. She kept walking, head down, hoping whoever it was would pass by. The horse slowed, stopped. "You're a long way from anywhere," a man's voice said. Iris didn't look up. "I'm managing." "In a summer dress, in a blizzard, on Christmas?" "I said I'm managing." Silence, then the creak of leather as the man dismounted. Boots crunched through snow. He moved around to stand in front of her, blocking her path. Iris looked up. The man was tall, broad-shouldered, maybe 40, dark hair going gray at the temples, a face that had seen weather and violence and hadn't flinched from either. He wore a long coat, good quality, and his boots were the kind that cost real money. A rifle hung on his saddle. But it was his eyes that made Iris's breath catch. Gray-blue, like winter sky. Not cruel, but not soft either. The eyes of a man who'd made hard choices and lived with them. "You're Wade Garrison," he said. Everyone knew Wade Garrison, the rancher who'd killed 7 men in a single gunfight 10 years back when claim jumpers tried to take his land. The man who ran 10,000 head of cattle and paid his hands better than anyone else, but worked them harder too. The man other men crossed the street to avoid. "I am," he said, "and you're freezing to death. That's my business." "It is," he agreed. "But I'm curious why a woman's walking into a blizzard on Christmas morning dressed like she's heading to Sunday dinner." Iris's jaw tightened. "The good people of Kremmling decided I wasn't fit company." "What'd you do?" "Existed without permission." Something shifted in Garrison's expression. Not quite a smile, more like recognition. "Get on the horse," he said. "I'm fine walking. You'll be dead in an hour. Then I'll be dead." Garrison studied her for a long moment. Then he did something unexpected. He laughed, short, sharp, like the sound surprised him. "Stubborn," he said. "I respect that. But stubbornness doesn't keep you warm." He pulled off his coat and held it out. "At least take this." Iris stared at the coat, at this infamous man offering kindness when respectable people had offered exile. Her pride said refuse. Her body, shaking with cold, said otherwise. She took the coat.
Wade Garrison's ranch house sat in a valley 15 miles west of Kremmling. Large, built from timber and stone, with smoke rising from 2 chimneys. Corrals and outbuildings spread across the property. Cattle dotted the distant hills like ink spots on white paper. Iris had ridden behind Garrison on his horse, too cold to be embarrassed about it. By the time they arrived, she couldn't feel her hands. He helped her down, led her inside without a word. The house was warm, blessedly, impossibly warm. A fire roared in the main room. Garrison pointed to a chair near the hearth. "Sit." Iris sat. He brought blankets, hot coffee that burned her throat and tasted like salvation. Then he disappeared into another room and returned with dry clothes, a wool dress, thick stockings, proper boots. "These were my sister's," he said. "She died 5 years back, fever. You're about her size." Iris looked at the clothes, at this stranger offering more in 10 minutes than Kremmling had offered in 6 months. "Why are you helping me?" she asked. Garrison poured himself coffee, sat in the chair across from her. "Because you needed help. Most men wouldn't care. I'm not most men." That much was obvious. They sat in silence for a while. Iris drank her coffee and felt her body slowly remember what warm meant. Outside, the snow fell heavier. Finally, Garrison spoke. "What happened in Kremmling?" Iris told him, the accusation, the banishment, the mockery of justice without trial. Garrison listened without interrupting. When she finished, his expression was dark. "Henrietta Crawford," he said. "I know her. Married to Thomas Crawford, owns the feed store. He's a weak man married to a cruel woman. She's run 3 girls out of town in the past 2 years. Why? Because she can, because she's miserable, and making others miserable gives her power." He set down his coffee. "You're better off away from there." "I have nowhere to go." "You could stay here." The words hung in the air between them. Iris stared at him. "As what? Your charity case?" "As my wife." The room went silent except for the fire crackling. "You've lost your mind," Iris said finally. "Probably," Garrison agreed, "but hear me out. I need a wife. You need protection and a home. It's a practical arrangement." "You don't know me." I know you're stubborn, proud, and willing to walk into a blizzard rather than beg. That's more than I knew about my first wife, and we were married 3 years. You were married before? She left, couldn't stand the isolation, went back east to her family. I don't blame her. This life isn't for everyone. Iris shook her head. This is insane. People get married because they love each other. People get married for all kinds of reasons. Love's just one of them, and not the most common. He leaned forward. I'm not asking you to love me. I'm offering you a choice. Stay here as my wife, legal, proper, respectable. You'd have a home, safety, my name. In return, you'd run the household, manage the domestic side of the ranch. And what else? Iris asked quietly. Garrison met her eyes. Nothing you don't offer freely. I'm not that kind of man. How do you know that? You don't, but you rode 15 miles with me and I didn't touch you. I gave you my coat, brought you to my home, and I'm sitting across the room instead of cornering you. Judge me by my actions. Meanwhile, have you subscribed on our channel? Do so, as I wouldn't want you to miss out on other great stories we have lined up. We also have a surprise for you once we hit the 1,000 subscriber milestone.
Iris spent Christmas Day in Wade Garrison's house, trying to decide if she'd lost her mind or found unexpected salvation. The alternative was clear enough. Walk back into the blizzard, try to reach the next town, hope they'd take her in, though word traveled fast and Henrietta Crawford's lies would arrive before she did, find work, if any existed for a woman with a ruined reputation, survive winter alone with nothing. Or marry a man she'd met 3 hours ago, a man with a reputation for violence, a man other men feared, a man who lived isolated from civilization, whose first wife had fled. But also a man who'd stopped for a freezing stranger, who'd offered his coat, his home, his name, who sat across the room instead of demanding payment for his kindness. Garrison didn't push. He made dinner, venison stew, bread, coffee, set a plate in front of her and ate his own meal in silence. After, he showed her the guest room. "You can sleep here tonight," he said. "Tomorrow, if you want to leave, I'll take you to Silverton. It's 40 miles south, big enough that Kremling's gossip won't matter. I'll give you money to start over." "Why would you do that?" "Because everyone deserves a second chance at something better." He left her alone. Iris lay in an actual bed, under real blankets, in a warm room. Outside, the blizzard raged. She thought about Kremmling, about the women who dragged her through snow, about Henrietta Crawford's twisted face. She thought about her parents, dead these 10 years, about the brother who'd gone to California and never written back, about the succession of towns and jobs and rooms where she'd never quite belonged, about being 28 and tired of being afraid. In the morning, she found Garrison in the kitchen making coffee. "I'll marry you," Iris said. He turned, studied her face. "You're sure?" "No, but I'm sure about everything else being worse." Garrison nodded slowly. "Fair enough. We'll ride to Silverton tomorrow. There's a judge there who'll do the ceremony. I'll get you a proper ring, proper dress if you want one." "I don't need a dress." "All right." He poured 2 cups of coffee, handed her one. "But we do this right. Legal papers, witnesses, everything documented. I won't have anyone claiming this marriage isn't legitimate." "Why do you need a wife so badly?" Iris asked. "A man like you could find someone willing." Garrison was quiet for a moment. "I'm 42 years old. I built this ranch from nothing, and when I die, it goes to no one. My sister's gone. My first wife took nothing when she left. I have no children. This land, this work, it should matter to someone beyond me." "You want heirs?" "I want partnership. Someone who sees this place as theirs, too, who'll fight for it like I have." He met her eyes. "You fought to survive this long alone. That takes strength. I respect strength." Iris sipped her coffee. It was strong, bitter, honest.
I need to know the truth about something. Those 7 men you killed, were you in the right?" Garrison's expression didn't change. "They came to my land with guns and torches, told me to leave or die. I chose a third option." "And the other stories? The ones that make people cross the street?" "Some are true, some are exaggerated. I've killed when I had to. I've never killed when I didn't. I'm not a good man by most measures, but I'm an honest one." "Honest is more than most offer," Iris said quietly. They finished their coffee in silence. Outside, the snow had stopped. The sun broke through clouds, turning everything to blinding white. A new day, a new choice. Iris had been thrown away like garbage on Christmas morning. Now she was choosing to become someone's wife. Not for love, not yet, maybe never, but for the chance to belong somewhere, to someone, to herself. It would have to be enough.
3 days later, Iris Garrison, strange how quickly she'd learned to think of herself that way, returned to Kremmling. Not alone, Wade rode beside her, and behind them 6 of his ranch hands. Large men, well-armed, loyal to Wade in the way men are loyal to someone who pays fair and treats them decent. They rode down Main Street at noon, when the town was busiest. People stopped, stared, whispered. Iris sat straight in her saddle, wearing the wool dress Wade's sister had owned, plus a new coat he'd bought her in Silverton. On her left hand, a simple gold band caught the winter sunlight. They stopped in front of the general store. Wade dismounted first, then helped Iris down. A courtesy, but also a statement. This woman is mine. Touch her and deal with me. The store owner, a nervous man named Perkins, stood in his doorway looking like he wanted to disappear. "Mrs. Garrison needs supplies," Wade said, his voice carried across the street. "She'll be placing a regular order. I expect she'll be treated with the respect due my wife." "Yes, sir, Mr. Garrison," Perkins stammered. "Of course, sir." They went inside. Iris selected what she needed: flour, sugar, coffee, fabric. Perkins measured and wrapped everything with shaking hands. When she finished, Wade paid in cash. "We'll be back weekly," Wade told Perkins. "I trust there'll be no problems." "No, sir, no problems." They left the store and walked across the street to the sheriff's office. Sheriff Clayton stood outside, clearly having been alerted to their presence. "Garrison," Clayton said. His hand hovered near his gun, then dropped when he saw Wade's ranch hands positioned strategically around the street. "Sheriff," Wade replied, "I'm here to inform you that Iris Dalton is now Iris Garrison, my wife, legal and proper. Any previous accusations against her are lies. If anyone bothers her again, they'll answer to me." Clayton's jaw tightened. "Now, Garrison, you can't just—" "I can and I am. She's under my protection. That clear enough?" The 2 men stared at each other. The street had gone silent, everyone watching. Finally, Clayton nodded. "Clear." "Good." They turned to leave when a shrill voice cut through the air. "How dare you!" Henrietta Crawford marched toward them, face red with fury. Her husband, Thomas, trailed behind, looking miserable. "That woman is my wife," Wade interrupted. His voice was low, dangerous. "Finish that sentence and we'll have a different conversation." Henrietta stopped, but her rage didn't diminish. "She tried to seduce my husband. Everyone knows." "Everyone knows you're a liar," Iris said. She stepped forward, meeting Henrietta's eyes. "You've run 3 women out of this town with your poison. I was just the latest. But I'm not gone, Mrs. Crawford. I'm right here, and I have something you'll never have." "What's that?" Henrietta spat. "A husband who chose me." The words landed like a slap. Thomas Crawford's face went red. He wouldn't meet anyone's eyes. Henrietta's mouth opened and closed. No sound came out. Wade took Iris's arm gently. "We're done here." They mounted up and rode out of Kremmling. Behind them, the town buzzed with gossip that would last for months. As they cleared the town line, Iris let out a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. "You all right?" Wade asked. "Yes." She looked at him. "Thank you." "For what?" "For letting me face them. You could have handled it yourself."
It was your fight. I just made sure it was fair." He paused. "What you said to Crawford about me choosing you, that was well done." Iris smiled slightly. "I'm learning." They rode home through winter landscape, a married couple by law and necessity. Maybe someday by choice, too.
The first month was strange. Iris and Wade circled each other like cautious animals, learning boundaries, establishing rhythms. He woke before dawn. She learned to have coffee ready. He worked outside until dark. She managed the house, learned the ranch's routines. They ate dinner together, conversations brief and practical. He slept in the main bedroom. She kept the guest room. At night, lying alone, Iris would think about the oddness of being married to a man who'd never kissed her, who treated her with more respect than men who'd courted her properly. The ranch hands were wary at first. A woman running the household meant changes. But Iris was smart. She didn't try to mother them or reorganize everything immediately. She learned their names, cooked food they actually wanted to eat, mended their clothes without being asked. The foreman, a leathery man named Jack Holloway, was the hardest to win over. "Boss doesn't need complications," he told her one morning when Wade was out checking fences. "I'm not a complication," Iris replied. "I'm his wife. You're a woman he picked up on the side of the road. And you're a man he pays to manage cattle. We both have our place here. Mine isn't subject to your approval." Holloway stared at her. Then, surprisingly, he laughed. "You got spine, I give you that. Mr. Garrison seems to value that quality." "He does at that." Holloway tipped his hat. "Welcome to the ranch, Mrs. Garrison." It was a small victory, but victories mattered. Wade noticed. That evening, as they cleaned up after dinner, he spoke without looking at her. "Holloway respects you. That's not easy to earn." "I didn't earn it, I demanded it." "Same thing out here." They washed dishes in comfortable silence. "You settling in all right?" Wade asked. "Yes, it's different from town. Quieter." "Too quiet?" Iris thought about Kremmling, the constant judgment, the whispers, the precarious nature of acceptance that could be revoked on a lie. "No," she said, "not too quiet." Wade nodded, didn't push. But that night, Iris found a stack of books on the table in her room. Quality books, novels, poetry, history, the kind that cost real money. She found Wade in his study doing accounts by lamplight. "The books," she said. He looked up. "Saw you looking at the empty shelves in the main room. Figured you might want something to read through winter. I sent to Denver for 'em." "When?" 2 weeks ago." 2 weeks? Before she'd won over Holloway, before she'd fully adjusted. Wade had been paying attention, anticipating her needs. "Thank you," Iris said quietly. "You're welcome." She turned to leave, then stopped. "Wade?" "Yes?" "Why did you really marry me?" He was quiet for a long moment. "Because when I saw you walking into that blizzard, I saw someone who'd been thrown away. And I spent enough years being dismissed as violent, dangerous, not fit for decent company. I know what it feels like to have people decide who you are without knowing you." "Is that all?" "No." He met her eyes. "I also saw someone who kept walking anyway, who didn't beg or break. That's rare. I wanted to know more." "And now?" "Now I'm glad I stopped." Iris felt something shift in her chest. Something warm and unfamiliar. "I'm glad you stopped, too," she said. She went to her room and spent half the night reading by lamplight, feeling more at home than she had in years.
Spring came slowly. Snow melted, revealing brown earth that would eventually green. The ranch work intensified, calving season, branding, moving herds to summer pasture. Wade was gone 14 hours a day. Iris managed everything else, the household, the accounts, the supplies. She was good at it, better than she'd expected. Organization came naturally. So did the authority needed to run an operation this size. The ranch hands stopped questioning her. She'd earned that. But Kremmling
hadn't forgotten. They came in late April, 3 riders, Thomas Crawford, Sheriff Clayton, and a territorial judge named Morton. They arrived mid-morning when Wade was out with the herds. Iris met them in the yard. "Mrs. Garrison," Judge Morton said. He was older, gray-bearded, with eyes that had seen too many bad situations. "We need to speak with your husband. He's working. I can help you. This is a matter for Mr. Garrison. Then you can wait, or you can tell me, and I'll relay the message." Morton exchanged glances with Clayton. "It's regarding accusations." Iris's blood went cold. "What accusations?" "Your marriage," Thomas Crawford said. His voice shook slightly. "My wife believes it was coerced, that Garrison forced you into it. Your wife is delusional. She's filed a formal complaint, claims Garrison kidnapped you from the roadside and forced you into marriage under duress. Given his reputation, the territory takes such claims seriously." Iris stared at them. "She's lying." "Nevertheless, we need to investigate. The marriage may need to be annulled." "Over my dead body." "Mrs. Garrison." "No." Iris stepped forward. "You want the truth? I'll give it to you. Your town threw me out like garbage on Christmas morning. Wade found me freezing to death and offered help. He offered marriage, yes, but as a choice, a real choice. I could have refused. I could have asked him to take me to Silverton instead. He would have. He gave me money and options and time to decide." "That's your version," Crawford muttered. "It's the truth, but the truth doesn't matter to people like you, does it? You'll believe whatever Henrietta Crawford says because she has standing and I don't." Morton looked uncomfortable. "The law requires investigation of such claims." "Then investigate. Ask anyone on this ranch if I seem like a prisoner. Ask the hands if I'm being mistreated. Ask the store owners in Silverton who saw us get married with proper papers and witnesses." Iris's voice was steel now. "But understand this. I chose this marriage. I choose it every day. If you try to take it from me, you'll have a fight." Hoofbeats interrupted them. Wade rode up with Holloway and 4 hands, clearly having been alerted to visitors. He dismounted, taking in the scene instantly. "Judge Morton? Sheriff? Crawford?" His voice was cold. "What's this about?" "Accusations of coercion regarding your marriage," said Morton. Wade looked at Iris. Their eyes met. A silent question. "Are you all right?" She nodded once. Wade turned back to the men. "My wife already answered, I assume." "She did." "Then you have your answer. Unless you're suggesting she's lying?" "We're suggesting she might be afraid to tell the truth," said Clayton. Wade's expression went dangerous. "You're suggesting I'd hurt my wife?" "We're investigating a claim." "Then investigate. Talk to anyone on this ranch. Check our marriage license. Interview the judge who performed the ceremony. But do it fast and do it once, because if you come back here with this nonsense again, we'll have problems." Morton held up his hands. "No need for threats, Garrison." "That wasn't a threat. It was a fact. My wife is under my protection. That means from everyone, including people who think they have legal authority to harass her." The standoff lasted several long seconds. Finally, Morton nodded. "We'll make inquiries. If everything is as you say, this matter is closed. It better be." They rode out. Iris watched them disappear toward town, her hands shaking with delayed reaction. Wade touched her shoulder lightly. "You handled that well." "Did I? I basically threatened a judge." "You defended yourself. There's a difference." There's a pause. "What you said about choosing this marriage every day, did you mean that?" Iris turned to look at him. "Yes." "Why?" "Because I'm not a prisoner. I'm a partner. There's a difference." Something shifted in Wade's expression, softened. "Come on," he said. "Let's get back to work." But as they walked toward the house, his hand found hers, squeezed once. Iris squeezed back.
If you're still following this story and you love it so far, then I encourage you to subscribe to get updated on more stories of hope and redemption like this one. We have a surprise for you once we hit the 1,000 subscriber mark. Now, back to the story.
The investigation ended within 2 weeks. Judge Morton sent a formal letter stating the marriage was legitimate, entered into freely, and no evidence of coercion existed. Henrietta Crawford's complaint was dismissed. Iris read the letter twice, then burned it in the kitchen stove. Wade found her there, watching the paper curl and blacken. "Satisfied?" he asked. "I'll be satisfied when she stops trying to destroy people's lives." "She won't. Women like that need someone to hurt." "Then she should try hurting someone who can fight back." Wade smiled. Actually smiled, not just the almost expression he usually showed. "You really don't back down, do you?" "I spent too many years backing down. I'm done." He poured coffee, handed her a cup. They stood at the window, watching dawn break over the ranch. "I'd need to tell you something," Wade said. Iris waited. "When I offered you marriage, I meant what I said. Practical arrangement, no expectations beyond partnership. But things have changed, for me at least." Iris's heart started beating faster. "Changed how?" she asked quietly. "I find myself thinking about you when I'm out with the herds, wondering if you'll laugh at something I say at dinner, looking forward to coming home because you're here." He paused. "I didn't expect that." "Neither did I." Wade turned to face her fully. "I'm not good with words, never have been, but I need you to know this stopped being practical for me a while ago. If it's still just practical for you, that's fine. I'll respect that. But I needed to be honest." Iris set down her coffee cup. Her hands were steady, which surprised her. "It stopped being practical for me, too," she said. "I didn't want it to. I told myself to keep distance, to stay safe, but you made that impossible." "How?" "By being decent, by treating me like I mattered, by letting me be strong instead of trying to make me soft." She stepped closer. "By stopping for a stranger in a blizzard when you had every reason to keep riding." They stood inches apart. The kitchen was warm. Outside, the ranch was waking up. Horses in the corral, hands moving toward their work. "I'd like to kiss you, if you're amenable." "Amenable? Is that how you ask?" "I'm out of practice." "Try again." Wade's expression turned serious. "Iris, may I kiss you?" She answered by closing the distance between them. The kiss was gentle at first, uncertain, then deeper, sure. When they broke apart, Wade's eyes were bright. "I love you," he said. "Didn't plan to, didn't think I could, but I do." Iris felt tears she didn't expect. "I love you too. God help me." "We're a pair, aren't we? Both too stubborn to do things the normal way." "Normal's overrated." He kissed her again, longer this time. When Holloway knocked on the door an hour later with a question about fence repairs, he found them sitting at the kitchen table, holding hands across the wooden surface, looking at each other like teenagers. He backed away slowly. He'd never seen the boss smile like that. Hell, he'd never seen the boss smile at all. Things were definitely changing on the Garrison ranch.
Summer came. The ranch prospered. Iris and Wade's marriage shifted from arrangement to genuine partnership, to something deeper, love, messy and unexpected. But Henrietta Crawford wasn't done. She came in August, not alone this time. She brought her brother, a mean drunk named Stewart, who'd done time for assault in Kansas, and 2 men he'd hired, rough types who did bad work for bad pay. They came at night, when Wade and most of the hands were in the north pasture, 3 days' ride away. Iris was in the house with Jack Holloway, who'd stayed behind with a bad leg, and 2 younger hands named Dusty and Pete. She heard the horses first, too many, moving too fast.
"Jack," she called, "we've got visitors." Holloway limped to the window, looked out, cursed. "That's trouble. Get the rifles." They armed themselves. 3 rifles, 2 revolvers. Not much against 5 riders with bad intentions. Stuart Crawford dismounted, drunk from the way he moved. Henrietta stayed on her horse, face twisted with hate. "Send out the whore," Stuart shouted. "We're taking her back to face justice." "What justice?" Iris called from inside. "Your sister's lies? You ruined my sister's reputation, made her look like a liar. She is a liar." Stuart pulled his gun, fired at the house. The bullet punched through a window. "Next one goes through the door unless you come out," he yelled. Holloway aimed his rifle through the window. "You boys want to die tonight? Because that's what happens if you keep this up." 3 against 5, one of Stuart's hired men called, "and one of you's crippled. Do the math." They were right. The math was bad. Iris made a decision. "I'm coming out," she said. "Don't shoot." "Like hell you are," Holloway growled. "They'll burn us out otherwise. They're drunk enough to do it." She opened the door, hands visible, no weapon. Stuart grinned. "Smart girl. Get on a horse." "No." The grin faded. "What?" "I'm not going anywhere with you. You want to kill me? Do it here, but I'm not moving." Henrietta urged her horse forward. "You don't have a choice, you little—" A rifle shot cracked through the night. Dirt exploded at Henrietta's horse's feet. The animal reared, nearly throwing her. Everyone turned. Wade Garrison sat on his horse at the edge of the yard, rifle still smoking. Behind him, 20 ranch hands spread out in a line. They'd ridden hard. The horses were lathered, but they were here. Wade's voice carried across the yard, cold as winter. "You're on my land, threatening my wife. Start praying I'm feeling merciful." Stuart's courage evaporated. His hired men suddenly found their saddles very interesting. "She's a whore," Henrietta tried. Her voice shook. "She seduced my husband, destroyed my reputation. Your husband's standing behind you looking like he wishes he'd never met you. Your reputation destroyed itself, and my wife is the most decent person in this valley, which is why you can't stand her." Thomas Crawford was indeed there, looking miserable. "Henrietta, please, let's just go home." "No, she has to pay." "For what?" Iris stepped forward. She'd had enough. For surviving? For being thrown out of town and finding something better? For being chosen by a good man instead of being stuck with a weak one? Thomas flinched. Henrietta's face went purple. "You tried to destroy me," Iris continued. "You failed. I'm still here. I'm happy. I have a home and a husband who loves me and a life worth living, and you can't stand that because you have none of those things." "You're nothing," Henrietta spat. "Maybe I was, but not anymore." Iris looked at Wade, at the hands who'd ridden 3 days to protect her, at the home they'd built together. "Now I'm exactly where I belong." Wade rode forward slowly, stopped beside Iris. "You've got 10 seconds to get off my land. If I see any of you again, I won't be merciful. I'll be thorough." The hired men wheeled their horses immediately. Stuart followed, muttering curses. Thomas grabbed his wife's reins and pulled her horse away. Henrietta looked back once. Pure hate. But she was leaving, defeated. The ranch hand stayed mounted until the group disappeared into darkness. Then Wade dismounted and pulled Iris into his arms. "Are you all right?" "Yes. How did you know?" "Holloway sent Dusty on the fast horse when he saw them coming. We've been riding since yesterday." Iris pulled back to look at him. "You rode 3 days without stopping? You're my wife. Where else would I be?" She kissed him, in front of all the hands, let them see. When she pulled away, Wade touched her face gently. "What you said to her about being where you belong, did you mean that?" "Every word." "Good." He kissed her forehead. "Because you are. You always will be." The hands started dispersing, seeing to horses, heading towards bunks. Holloway slapped Wade on the shoulder as he passed. "Your wife's got spine, boss. Hell of a woman. Don't I know it?" Iris and Wade stood in the yard as stars wheeled overhead. The house waited,
warm and lit from within. Christmas Day, Iris Dalton had been thrown away like garbage. Now she was Iris Garrison, wife to a man who'd ridden 3 days to protect her, owner of a home she'd defend with her life. She'd been cast out by people who called themselves righteous. She'd been claimed by a man they called dangerous. And she'd never been happier. Sometimes the infamous choice was the right one. Sometimes the outcast found exactly where she belonged. And sometimes love came from the last place anyone expected, from a stranger on a snowy road who stopped when everyone else had turned away. Iris took Wade's hand and led him inside. Home. Finally, truly home.
If you enjoyed this story, we appreciate you a whole lot and look forward to connecting with you as we build a community on this channel. Every day, we will put out more stories, so we need your support. Help us by liking, sharing, and subscribing to our channel if you haven't already. You won't miss any new exciting videos. Check out the next video. You'll love it!